This week is the last week of New York Jets like strong content with mandatory minicamp before we have the big break before training camp. So why not some optimism? Why not some positivity? A special guest will join us to react and discuss some best case scenarios for the New York Jets. Let's roll. Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field Gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor Gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
What's poppin', everybody? Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com, and I see a comment in here immediately from Ron, who says, tomorrow's mandatory, huh? No, today is mandatory on Boy Green Daily. Every day is frickin' mandatory, Ron, for Pete's sake. But welcome to the show. We're live every single day at 7:30 in the morning. And without further ado, let's bring in our special guest. It's been too damn long since we've had this Jets content creator gracing us with his presence. But I've seen some people in the hangar with him, knocking some back, having some conversation, things happening. So I've been seeing this guy, but it's time to bring him on over here. That is a Gunny Gumby New York Jets situation report. What's up, Gunny?
Hey, what's up, Paul Boy Green? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. And speaking of situation reports, we need a situation report right now for Gunny Gumpy. We have him on Boy Green Daily. Things are popping, locking, and dropping. How are you feeling here in June as we're getting through the last leg here, which is mandatory minicamp before we have this big break? How you feeling about the New York Jets?
Well, first and foremost, man, love the plug. Always, man. When it comes to you, like, it's really true what they say. There's no better intros that have ever been done on content creation than, of course, by our boy here, Paul Boy Green. So I appreciate you. Love the plug of the hangout. Appreciate that. Yeah, man, coming into June here, dog, I feel really, really good. And I'm not talking about like feeling really, really good in the sense of how we all felt last year after we brought in Aaron Rodgers and we made ourselves believe that the team around him was good enough. I feel really, really, really good. Looking at some of the things we've seen in OTAs with Tyron Smith being out there, you see the guy looking real fluid. Apparently, he's bench pressing 400 pounds in the weight room. You know, he's been an impact in terms of Officiating, who's talking about how he's been able to help him out and as a sponge absorbing the information. You're seeing the whole Aaron Rodgers to Garrett Wilson connection come to fruition. Our guy Brees Hall right now is a little banged up, but Braylon Allen apparently is stepping into the role of potentially RB1, in situations where we don't have Brees Hall or we want to rest Brees Hall, and he's excelling on a whole other level. Stiggers apparently right now is showing signs of life in terms of being potentially, could he be a guy that replaces DJ Reed? I don't know. I'm not saying that's the case, but we brought him on with the hopes that he can go ahead and fill in a role, and he's flying up the depth chart. Tariq Cohen coming out of nowhere. We haven't seen him in freaking 2-3 years. Apparently he's making plays with the first team. It's exciting all around when you think about just how far this team has come as a collective. It's not just about one person this offseason, right? I think last year, Aaron Rodgers, we had the blinders on, and that was enough. This year, it's about the New York Jets. Like, this roster as a whole has come around, and you're hearing everybody is pulling on the rope and they're doing their part. And it's exciting, man. I think it's exciting. I think as Jets fans, we've been waiting for this for a long time. We're well overdue for a respectable season, and I think this year we're going to get more than just a respectable season.
Damn straight. Rent is due, motherfuckers, and we're coming to collect.
Facts.
So I am ready for that. Again, long overdue. So we'll get into some interesting, optimistic, and best case scenarios for a variety of things. But before we get there, I want to go to Rich Eisen, who, my man, I love Rich Eisen. I watch your show all the time, and he decided to have a glass half full perspective on the league, and he went through every division and gave the best case scenarios for every team. And it wasn't like, hey, every team can win the Super Bowl, because that's not realistic. Certain teams have better best case scenarios than other teams. So he went through the whole gambit, and then he stopped on the Jets. And he gave this very interesting best case scenario. And I want to react to them with you here, Gunny, and get into it here. And you got so many fans in the chat. I mean, seeing all these people screaming Gunny in all caps, exclamation points, some just Gunny, some whispers, some Matthias, some Gunny with the coffee club. Man, you got a posse, you got a group, you've got a following of people, which is phenomenal. So it's good. Thank you for flying on over, everybody, into this. But here are a couple of things that Rich Eisen had in his best case scenario. First, he had Aaron Rodgers becoming the first player in NFL history to win Comeback Player of the Year, MVP, and Super Bowl MVP all within the same season. So, Gunny, first off, I'm curious your take on that sort of history being made in 2024 with Aaron Rodgers. And also, on top of you reacting to that, what do you believe your best case scenario is for Aaron Rodgers if everything aligns the way that a lot of us expect it to?
Hey, and homage to Jake Asman, man, from his lips to God's ears. I hope very much that winds up being the case, right? You're talking about Comeback Player of the Year, MVP, Super Bowl MVP. Like, listen, you could wish for a better outcome in terms of an individual season. And if Aaron Rodgers decided to retire after that, he would still be worshipped amongst New Yorkers and New York Jets fans alike. It wouldn't matter. That would be ideal. That would be great. I think that's feasible. That's the crazy part. Like, when I first read it, I thought to myself, like, oh, man, in all actuality, it's feasible. The last time Aaron Rodgers made it to the Super Bowl, people keep forgetting that, yes, he's struggled in terms of getting there again. But Aaron Rodgers hasn't been able to get there again, oftentimes because he didn't have the defensive support necessary to get there again. I think he was averaging 28-something points per game in the playoffs as the starting quarterback for the Packers. Unfortunately, his defense was giving up significantly more than that when it came to output. But the one time he made it to the Super Bowl and won, he had a top 5 defense. I'm sorry, no, I'm lying. He had a top 10 defense. Mm-hmm. He potentially would have a top 5 defense this year going into this league, seeing this team being able to do this defense do what it's made to do by playing with the lead, potentially getting after the quarterback. I very well see Aaron Rodgers, specifically the Comeback Player of the Year. I think the probability of that is extremely high. I think the only way he doesn't get that is if, again, knock on wood, anything was to happen to him in terms of health. But in terms of what Aaron Rodgers brings to the table, what you're seeing in OTAs, what you're seeing in regards to the chip on the shoulder that he seems to be embracing, he understands, like, you know what, it's on me. If I don't perform this year, people will lose their jobs. I love the fact he's taken ownership of that. I think that in itself shows we're getting ourselves a very focused and driven Aaron Rodgers. And people talk about how, like, his last year in Green Bay, oh my gosh, he fell off of a cliff. Could you imagine 3,600 freaking yards, 26 touchdowns, and 12? That fell off of a cliff, apparently, for everybody, right? So even if that's his floor, you're talking about Comeback Player of the Year. I don't even think it's even a question. But are we going to get somewhere in between the Aaron Rodgers floor and his MVP season from the year before? I think so. I think he has a supporting cast to do it. I think by fortifying this offensive line in the offseason, Joe Douglas made sure that Aaron Rodgers is not going to have to do it alone. And I love the picks and guys like Malachi Corley and Breece Hall and Brandon Allen, who's proven he can actually catch the ball out of the backfield. I don't see Aaron Rodgers having to do much in terms of being the only guy out there making plays. Aaron Rodgers has to be Aaron Rodgers for maybe 3 to 4 plays a game. And I could definitely see him in the conversation for the MVP talks. Now, Super Bowl MVP?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take that. Although if I had to bet on it, I feel like that would go to either Breece Hall or one of our defensive players. That's why I think it would go with for the Super Bowl MVP. But I would not be shocked or upset if Aaron Rodgers got the trifecta.
That's for sure. And I will just say, to be honest, the Comeback Player of the Year feels almost like a foregone conclusion. And that's a crazy thing to say because, I mean, it's the story, and maybe this is a selfish Jets-centric, heliocentric Jets guy in the universe here, but the Aaron Rodgers comeback tour is the number one story in the NFL in terms of comebacks. No, there's some other interesting stories, but they're not Aaron Rodgers, all the investment, all the hoopla that went into it. So if he has, again, to your point, the 2022 season that he had with the Packers, he's getting comeback player of the year. And to be honest, that's not even including if he has, again, as Rich Eisen's best case scenario projected with the 5th MVP and all that stuff. Obviously, the numbers would be insane. And it just, to me, I do get crazy with the people that say, that Packers season, disgusting. Complete fall off. And I just go, our definitions of fall off are apparently just different. Mikasa is not Sukasa, apparently. So that revs my engine, baby. And I am pretty excited about it. There was another part of Rich Eisen's best case scenario for the Jets. And it was Breece Hall winning Offensive Player of the Year and becoming, in his words, NYJ's version of Christian McCaffrey. And by the way, the Jets just tweeted out it's media day for the New York Jets, and Breece Hall is walking either in slow motion or whatever here for the media day in front. So he looks ready to go. What about old Breece Hall? He appeared in all 17 games last year after tearing the ACL. Obviously, we saw in some level of a pitch count by the Jets. It didn't look like he needed it after running for a 26-yarder and an 83-yarder on his first 2 attempts of the season last year. But can Breece Hall reach those kinds of heights in 2024?
Okay. So this is, maybe it's the fanboy in me, but this is fanboy supported by stats, right? Breece Hall ultimately finished last year second in all-purpose yards, behind only Christian McCaffrey, right? That's for the running backs. Came in second before the running backs behind Christian McCaffrey. I think he was third overall. Listen, he did that with more stacked boxes than any other running back had to face the entire season. He did that with no offensive line. Offensive line rated the bottom 5 in the NFL. He did that with no quarterback behind center. You might as well have freaking my 9-year-old son back there playing quarterback for the Jets, because that's how effective or ineffective. Actually, not. TJ might be better than that. I'm not going to disrespect him like that. That's disrespect my son. But ultimately, without an NFL caliber quarterback back there, and he was the primary focus of defenses. Like, defenses didn't play us like regular defenses. They put 2 on freaking Garrett Wilson, and then they stacked the box. They said, you know what? That's it. We don't care about anybody else. You can't beat us. And I mean, they weren't wrong. We wound up freaking only winning 7 games. But Breece Hall still 8. That's what people don't. He's still freaking 8. So now you're talking about a legitimate offensive line in front of him, a legitimate freaking quarterback, wide receivers in terms of Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson, freaking Malachi Corley, who's looking like he's ready to go, who you're going to have to respect in the passing game. I think he's going to have his most optimal situation for his skill set that he's had thus far in the last 2 years. And this time, Nathaniel Hackett knows he can play football. So I do believe he's going to be a focal point for this offense this year. And yeah, I think Breece Hall's ceiling is RB1, like RB1 in terms of over Christian McCaffrey. I think this could be the year. Again, health being the biggest freaking culprit that I'm worried about. And that's Jets fans. We all have to worry about that. But I think a healthy Breece Hall with this team around him definitively, potentially is pushing that 2,000 all-purpose yards number. Yeah.
Which would be spectacular. Yeah, and I love it. And I think it is well within bounds. The thing that I don't know if it's a chip on my shoulder. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I lied. I just talked myself. It's 100% a chip on my shoulder. That people don't know how good the Jets roster is, because this offseason, you may have seen it sporadically from The Athletic and NFL.com and other people are ranking rosters. Like, here's the roster, A to Z, here's what they look like. And the Jets, more times than not, have definitely appeared in the top 10, and in most cases, top 5 of rosters in the NFL by all these different people. And then I've seen all these big analysts and big people, like we talked about a little bit on Thursday with Will Parkinson on the afternoon show. And one of the guys that came out was Peter Bukowski, the Green Bay Packers guy that's always all over the place. And he went and he was reacting to the roster rankings and something to the effect of, what the hell are the Jets doing in there? And maybe he's playing coy, but it didn't seem like it from his comments. Like, it seemed like he was serious. But there's other people that have that perception, like, the Jets, why the hell are they there? So people just don't know. about some of these guys. People don't know that Breece Hall and Christian McCaffrey are a lot closer than people think, or all these other guys on the roster, whether big names or not, like Garrett Wilson. He's put up very solid numbers, but I don't think a lot of people would put him in their top 5 receivers in the game right now because he hasn't had that monster video game season yet. He's had historic team franchise seasons, but he hasn't had the 115 catch, 1,400 yard, double-digit touchdown. That hasn't happened yet. So people are kind of like, Garrett's okay. Like, this guy's okay. Like, probably the only one that maybe gets some respect, although people call him the PI merchant, is Sauce Gardner. But besides that, though, a lot of the guys on this team don't get the respect. So that's kind of the surprise party I'm looking forward to this year. Is that sure, all the Jets in prime time, but they competent Aaron Rodgers, you're in conversations, all of a sudden go, whoa, this Jets roster isn't bad. Yeah, no shit, pal. Look at the offseason. We're doing all these roster rankings. This isn't coming out of left field, man. This is a very, very talented roster that, and people say this all the time, it gets thrown around. Oh, man, we're a quarterback away. We're a quarterback away. The Jets are literally a quarterback away from getting to where they want to go, which, again, to me, is incredibly exciting. So I'm looking forward to it. And I do think to this Breece Hall, Rich Eisen prognostication or best case scenario or what have you, Breece Hall does have that in him. He was second in the AFC in all-purpose yards, only behind Tyreek Hill. I mean, that is wild. Tyreek Hill was, and here's the thing that doesn't make any gosh darn sense. Okay, Tyreek Hill was in the running for Offensive Player of the Year. Breece Hall wasn't even a finalist. Speaking of not even a finalist, he wasn't even a finalist for Comeback Player of the Year, and he blew out his leg. How
totally insane to me.
And you say those numbers. Yeah, it's Tyreek Hill than Breece. And Tyreek Hill, but in one vein, one breath, you could say, Tyreek Hill, well, right there for Offensive Player of the Year. But then, like, Breece, like, the fuck? I wasn't even in the top 5. Like, what or comeback? Hey, Joe Flacco, who played like 5 weeks, got the comeback player. They were, what the hell? So, there was some, again, it's just kind of, I know there was a theme last year, receipts being collected, but it feels just like some receipts need to be collected.
I'm glad you brought that up, though, right? Because you talk about so many people, it's the New York Jets. You guys get favoritism because of the media and blah, blah, blah. You're a big market. No, we don't. We get more disrespect than any freaking other fan base, in my opinion. They talk about how freaking Sauce Gardner is the DPI merchant, and the only reason why he's getting so much accolades is because he's in the New York media market. You just brought up a beautiful point. If that was the case, how does Breece Hall not even get a vote for Comeback Player of the Year? Not one vote. The dude was second in the AFC, 3rd overall in the NFL in terms of all-purpose yards. He doesn't even get a vote. But at the end of the day, it's all what fits people's narratives. I think, like you just said, it's perfectly stated, right? People don't know how good this roster is because they only look at the record. Oh, it's the Jets, 7 and freaking 10. Forgetting the fact that the most important position on the field is quarterback, and we've been playing without one for the last 2 years. The pure fact that the New York Jets have even won 7 games in back-to-back years, beating playoff caliber teams, taking Kansas City Chiefs all the way down to the wire to win a game last year against us with the help of the ref, shows you the caliber of the support around the quarterback or lack thereof, right? This is a team that was winning games with no quarterback. Like, put that into perspective. The New York Jets won 7 games last year without an NFL caliber quarterback. Like, that counts for something, but like you said, they won't know until they know. People like to go ahead and see stats and numbers and the win-loss column for them to really be able to understand what a team is capable of. This year, they'll understand. They'll get it this year.
Yeah, and I'm glad this person jumped into the poll. This is Danny in real life from Twitter, from the X Machine, okay? Saying Jets have earned the disrespect. He's a Buffalo Bills fan here locally and in my backyard. I'm glad that he responded because there's been, speaking of narratives, right? So the Haason Reddick situation. Again, mandatory minicamp, we'll see later this week. It went from 3 days to 2 days. It's only 2 days now. I guess the Jets reduced it. But either way, the big storyline is, oh boy, Haason Reddick, is he going to show up or not? And I've seen a lot of people go, same old Jets, idiots. Danny tagged me in this thing yesterday, said, like 3 things that are guaranteed life. Taxes, death, and the Jets being this like complete disaster. is what he said. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's interesting because obviously the Jets are the first team in NFL history to have a player skip voluntary workouts and maybe skip mandatory workouts. Oh, wait, I'm just getting word in. Live in my ear. Apparently, they're not the first team. Oh, wait, CeeDee Lamb is skipping mandatory minicamp. Are the Dallas Cowboys this dysfunction? Oh, wait, just in, Brandon Ayuk, San Francisco 49ers. Apparently, he's blowing off that as well. Weird. Whoa, all these teams coming. Oh, wait, but the 49ers, I thought they're the best team in football. I thought they have everything figured out. The Cowboys, America's team. Oh, wait a second, Danny. Shut the hell up, man. The Jets are the same as all these other teams. But again, it goes back to what Gunny was saying about this New York market and people wanting to, throw crap at us with a low-hanging fruit. It's an easy punchline for people. Haason Reddick, we'll see if he shows up, which I'll ask you about, Gunny, because that's a big story that's going to be coming this week. If he shows up to mandatory minicamp or if he does not. But even if he doesn't, so what? Lamb isn't showing up to Dallas. Ayuk isn't showing up to San Francisco. But I don't hear it zip and pip said about that on social media or any of the shows. It's the Jets. They're the ones who are the silly team that apparently isn't acquiescing to a star's demands. And by the way, after this weekend's, and again, Haason Reddick can be fined up to $50,000 for skipping out on this. He's already given up $250,000 in off-season workout bonuses. There's still a month and change to figure it all out before training camp. So there is nothing to worry about yet. The heat turns up a little bit if he doesn't show up this week. You're like, okay, boy, this contract thing's something. But the Jets are this joke of an organization because Haason Reddick might not show up. It just is a very silly narrative that I just don't understand. And there's a lot of people saying, I saw Mike Lombardi said it in response, same old Jets. It's not, I don't even understand that.
Yeah, the whole Haason Reddick thing to me is, I think, it's kind of comical, right? Like the defensive line is arguably the strongest position group the New York Jets currently have. I think it's the strongest position group. We still don't know what we have in a Will McDonald, although in very limited amount of play last year, he had one of the highest winning percentages in the NFL as at the edge position. So we've got Jermaine Johnson, who I expect to go ahead and blow up this year. The interior defensive lineup being, again, we got some concerns and questions there, but Haason Reddick was brought in here to me to go ahead and kind of like make this push for the Super Bowl, right? Like he was brought in here as a mercenary. I don't want to re-sign him. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm in the minority here, but I do not want to re-sign Haason Reddick. I don't. I think we need to go ahead and utilize him for this as a one-year rental. He can go ahead and stack up some defensive plays with the Jets, get his payday next year from somebody else. I want to pay our guys. I want to pay Jermaine Johnson. I want to pay Sauce Gardner. I want to pay Garrett Wilson. I want to pay Breece Hall. I want to go ahead and pay our guys. And for me, Haason Reddick at 28, going on 29 years old, if not 29, going on 30 years old.
29 going on 30 in September.
30.
Yep.
Okay, so we're talking to buy who, as we all know, for positions like this on the other side of 30, you never know what you're going to get, right? And I don't know if that's worth the investment. For me, I hope Joe Douglas holds his ground. I don't believe Haason Reddick is not going to play the entire season because he'll be a Jet again next year. He's 1 year removed from being able to go ahead and get another contract. You can't forfeit the season. You're going to go ahead and pretty much take money out of your own mouth in that capacity. So he wants to play these games and not make it to OTAs. Fine. That's fine by me. You want to go ahead and play games, not make it to minicamp. Fine by me. Don't show up to training camp. Cool. Do you, bro. Do you. I don't think we should budge. Personally, I think Haason Reddick is awesome. I think the last 4 years in the league, I think he's fourth in sacks, right? So, again, great.
Correct.
But there's some concerns about last year towards the back end of the season. He kind of fell off a little bit. Was that a sign of things to come? Were offenses paying more attention to him? Like, a lot of questions need to be answered. We won't know until he suits up and we start seeing him, obviously, in training camp and whatnot. But I'm amongst the individuals that I don't want to go ahead and pay this guy a big contract. Again, at 29 years old, I would much rather save as much cap as possible to re-sign our own people. JJ, Sauce, Breece, Garrett. And that's my stance on it. And if he wants to go ahead and waste another year, fine, waste your year. You'll still be a Jet next year because you would forfeit this season. That's just how the game works nowadays.
Yeah, we're swimming in the same waters. We have the same camp, quite frankly. That I'm all for him. That's kind of what I thought the Jets got him for, was a hired mercenary. Hey, I need someone dead, and I've hired a hitman to kill him. All right, Hitman. I'm not signing you to a long-term deal. Kill the guy, then we'll see what happens. Let's win the Super Bowl, and then we can talk. Maybe next offseason you have 20 sacks. We're like, oh, maybe we should franchise tag this guy. Maybe we should keep him. Okay, fine. But, like, he is more motivated than ever right now because he wants the bag. To just give him the bag, and he's like, oh, it's great. I've got everything I wanted. Now, I'm not saying he's going to pack it in like a Muhammad Wilkerson and just, like, suck. But I don't know, man. To me, motivate him with saying, maybe give him a sweetener if you need to do that, where I was talking a little bit yesterday about maybe you guarantee a little bit of money or give him an incentive package or something, fine. But like a brand new record-setting deal, which again, he's had crazy production, I would try to avoid that if possible because as you mentioned, you've got a lot of guys that are going to be coming up. So we will see what happens with those guys. And the Haason Reddick situation, again, 2-day mandatory minicamp this week, TBD. We'll see what happens. Thanks to 300 people that are in the room. As T-Town Jet just said, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Also, you guys can check out the Boy Green merch shop down in the link. Feel free to do so. And Gunny, real quick here, because someone said at the beginning of the stream, and I agree, that you have the best backdrop in New York Jets content creator history. And I must ask you, as we see all kinds of wonderful things back there, I see jerseys, I see footballs. I mean, there's everything back there. What is your favorite piece of item that you have back there? What are you most proud of?
First and foremost, shout out to the wife. She's the one that actually set all this stuff up. All my memorabilia was usually all over the freaking game room, the loft upstairs and whatnot. When I decided to do this, she put it all together. I came home one day and she did all this. So shout out to the wife for pretty much setting the backdrop.
You're a lucky man.
I am.
Yeah,
I am.
Ring her. Yes.
Yeah, 100%, without question. Favorite piece, without question, I think it's the Darrelle Revis jersey. I had that one signed off my back. I forget what year it was, but it was 2009, 2010.
Okay. Oh,
so
wow.
Literally autographed right off of my back, and then I pretty much, once I got it home, obviously I took it off and never wore it again. So that one to me, I think is my favorite piece, only because again, I was wearing it when he signed it. That was freaking pretty awesome. But yeah, so I'm gonna go with the D Revis jersey in the back there.
I just got to say that I love the stories that go along with merch. You know what I mean? Like I have a few that are over there, which I need to reorganize my setup. But I have one of a jersey over there that's framed. Same situation. I had it on my back. I saw the guy. I'm like, and then signed it. Had a story. He talked to me for like 10 minutes. I was like, oh my God, like this guy, like to him, it was like 10 minutes, probably passing. Like, it's like, whatever. But to me, it was like the greatest thing since sliced bread. And back in those days, that was Santonio Holmes, who was just traded as a Super Bowl MVP. And I'm walking back to the car after a Jets training camp. And then all of a sudden I look up and I'm like, Santonio Holmes, we're walking next to each other. I didn't even realize, and no one else is around. I don't know where the hell everyone else is. It's just me and Santonio walking back. And I'm like, Santonio, holy freaking crap. And I'm wearing your jersey. I'm like, Santonio, can you sign this? Like, yeah, sure, kid. I'm like, oh, okay, great. And all of a sudden he signed it and talked to me and we just went to town. And I was looking around like, is this like one of those Hallmark movies that's something going on? A camera's about to burst? How is this happening? Where is everybody else? How is everyone not swarmed this guy? And it's cool to have those. Sign it on the back and boom, right up there.
Santonio Holmes autographed helmet.
What? Oh, yeah. See, tone time, baby. You know. That's it. It's beautiful. Oh, phenomenal. All right, Gunny, I don't know your time situation. Do you have any time for some calls?
Yeah, sure thing.
Okay, great. All right. We will open up the phone lines. And you heard the handsome man. We will be opening up the phone lines here, and I'm putting that in the YouTube comment section. So if you guys would like to call in, ask some questions, give your best case scenarios, feel free to tune in. I'm putting that in the comment section. Again, if you're watching, we're streaming live on the Heavy on Jets Facebook page and also on my Twitter account at BoyGreen25. If you're on either of those platforms, which we appreciate, feel free to hop on over to youtube.com/BoyGreen25. You can click it. It is now the pinned comment on YouTube. If you're over there in this live stream, you can hop on the show. All right, let's go to the first one. We got EZ Edward joining us on the show. What's up, Ed?
Hey, good morning, Paulie.
Yeah,
good morning, Gunny. How are you?
What's up, Edward? I'm good, brother. How you doing today, man?
I'm good. I was listening to the show. I was off this weekend, so sorry I didn't call in, but I was doing some stuff. Anyway, I was listening to your conversations, and you're right. Breece Hall, he didn't even get a vote for comeback player. That's just complete and utter disrespect.
It's criminal.
That's just, I don't understand that. But I was thinking about what you were saying about Reddick and sweeten the pot, give him $4 to $5 million in incentives, let the chips fall where they may. And I agree with you 100%, Gunny. We got to pay our guys.
Yep.
Haason is a mercenary, although he's a very good one. I think if he does sign with the Jets, he's going to enjoy being here because Salah's great. The players love him. No matter what we think, the players love him. Just let him rock and roll on. I think we're going to have an insane season. I think there are so many weapons. Malachi Corley is like a fullback and a wide receiver number. I mean, it's crazy. And that new kid, Braylon Allen, holy shit.
Zero. Whew.
Oh, my God. He is going to – I promise you, he is going to be the next Ironhead Hayward, but he's going to be for the Jets. I mean, he's going to be a monster.
Yeah, sign me up. It's been fun. I knew that he was this big-ass goal line back, but, like, catching passes down the field and mossing people, I'm like, what the hell? What did we find
and he's
here?
got some wiggle to him. Like, he's able to go ahead and get to the second level and make you miss. He can make you miss, too.
I can just imagine a screen pass, right? We got one or two linemen in front, and then we have Braylon Allen leading the way, and Malachi Corley with the ball behind him. That's going to be crazy.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to get a lot of that. Get a lot of talent.
Once they get past the line of scrimmage, do you think any of these new hybrid linebackers, safeties, or corners are going to want to touch either of these two guys?
I think they're going to think twice. They're going to be like, ugh, business decision. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Might hurt.
It's like I remember an interview with what's that guy who was in Moonlighting? Bruce Willis. Yeah. They asked him one time, what's it like having 3 teenage daughters? And he said, it's very simple. Kill the first boyfriend and word will get out. So all they have to do is like run over the first couple of, defensive backs. Word will get out.
Yeah, word will spread. I love that. Thanks, Edward.
Don't hit these guys head on.
That's good advice. Thanks.
Have a good morning, gentlemen.
All right, thank you, pal. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, it's just I just love we have optionality on this offense, which is great. And I felt for Garrett, who again, from a franchise team record standpoint, he's remarkable. No other Jets receiver in the history of this franchise has ever started their career with back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, and that's commendable. That is, especially considering the quarterback situation. But he's been the guy more times than not. Think about it. Brees's rookie year, which also this is something that does not get enough play. Garrett Wilson has appeared in 34 of 34 games. He has always been available. And even a few times when he's been nicked up in a game, you're like, and he's like kind of limping and kipping. You're like, oh, Jesus. And he just powers through.
Back.
So he's just a dude. So he does not get enough credit for his durability. But the other fact of the matter is he's just been a lone soldier more times than not. Again, Brees Hall goes out halfway through both of their rookie years together, and he's there through the rest of it. Brees Hall early on is on a temperature check. Rodgers goes out. So all the focus on Garrett, and despite that, he has still continued to produce. So, I'm just looking forward to, again, going back to the main theme of optionality. You have wide receiver options. You have running back options. You have tight end options. Aaron Rodgers, I would imagine, is going to be a very, very happy man with the choices that he will have at the buffet table. All right, let's go back to the phone lines. We've got, I believe this is your uncle, Gunny, and everyone's uncle. It's Tio here on the show.
Tio.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. I
What's
want to say what a legendary status, waking up in the morning and seeing Boy Green and Gunny Gumby on my screen and just chopping up Jets, man. It's amazing. You guys go great with my coffee, and I want to say what's up to the coffee crew in the chat. They're always popping in the chat as well. A few points. I wanted to talk a little bit about Tariq Cohen being like an underrated signing. I think we signed him for a year at this point. Apparently he looks healthy. He looks spry in training camp. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that, especially with the new kickoff rules.
Say who looks spry? I missed that beginning part.
Tariq Cohen.
Tariq Cohen.
Yes. Yeah, it's been a splash. I'll start this one, Gunny. It's just been a splash of like, wow, because it's a dart throw. This is a guy that has not appeared in an actual NFL game since 2020. That was 4 years ago. And again, ACL, plateau fracture, Achilles blowout, like he's had. And then he also had like an
Bad, yeah.
MCL tear too. Like, I mean, his knee's been destroyed, his ankle's been destroyed. I mean, all of it has been blown to pieces. So for him to be getting, and the first team reps things is what it is. Like, they're not running Brees around a lot, which, by the way, I'm fine with. Put Brees on ice as far as I'm concerned until we need him. So that's good with me. But yeah, it's just been pop. That's what I've been hearing from the Jets reporters we either had on the show or on Twitter, that like, wow, he's showing burst. And to me, it's a dart throw. So if the injury issues, persist, okay, sorry, Tariq and your family, but you get cut. But if he shows some chutzpah, as he's shown so far, that's another option in terms of the kick return game, because right now, to be honest, it's a total. I was just playing Madden yesterday. I just said, let me slap some Madden around. Let me play some online. It's been a little while. And we were doing kickoffs, and I'm like, boy, this is going to be weird in a couple of months when the new Madden game comes in. Because, even as we're sitting here, all of us, we have no idea. We have some idea if we've seen some XFL, AFL, and that kind of stuff, that you've seen UFL and all those others. You've seen something. But, like, in the NFL, with the NFL logos and this being there, and coaches, playing chess with each other, the best coaches in the world of football all being here, we have no idea what that's going to look like. We have no idea how that's going to affect the game. And, again, Robert Saleh believes you're going to have 100-plus returns on the Jets. Last year, the league leader in the NFL was the Packers with 31. So Robert Saleh expects it to more than triple the highest other number, which is going to dramatically affect the game. So, again, Tariq Cohen, phenomenal. I love the decision. I love the move. Izzy, pack your bags, baby, because it looks like we have some. To me, I think the foursome is going to be Brees. I think it's going to be Braylon Allen. I think Isaiah Davis. I'll tell you, those top three I just said, Brees, Braylon, and Isaiah, I think all those are locks, roster locks. There's no way Joe Douglas, he doesn't cut his own guys. The only rookie he's ever cut in the past was like Zach Kuntz. That was the only ever rookie in his era. He cut Ja'Kai Polite, but that doesn't really count. He didn't draft Ja'Kai Polite. So the rookie that he drafted, that was removed in the same year that they were drafted months later, Zach Kuntz, was a 7th-round pick, and he ended up getting re-signed to the practice squad the next day. So the draft picks matter to Joe Douglas. So I don't anticipate any of those guys going. And that's Tariq Cohen, and it's Izzy. And I just threw a nightstick in the middle of the room, and I said, one of you's walking out of this room. I'll come back at training camp and see who survived. That's ultimately what I think is going to happen. Go ahead, Gunny.
Yeah, I was very surprised when we brought in Tariq Cohen, and the first thing I thought of was like, man, Izzy must not be showing up. If they brought him in, knowing from 4 years ago, again, the injury history, I was surprised that he was even considered. So my thought process was, man, Izzy is botching it. He's messing up, whatever the case might be. I think it boils down to Izzy and Tariq. I don't think the other three guys have anything to worry about. I think ultimately this is supposed to be the guy who's going to help predominantly on special teams. Maybe it's going to be in kickoff returns, punt returns, etc. But yeah, you're hearing good things, man. And it looks like Tariq Cohen has somehow turned back the hands of time and has recovered fully from those injuries, which is very surprising to think that 4 years later that he still looks like an NFL caliber freaking weapon. I'm excited for it. Anything that's going to make this team better, man, I'm for it. And I liked Izzy. I was really optimistic on Izzy. But if you can't help the team win now in this narrow window we've got with an Aaron Rodgers, sorry, man. If you got to go, you got to go. And if Tariq Cohen can go ahead and help, I'm all about it. But yeah, I was very surprised when we signed Tariq Cohen.
Man, you guys are on point, because that was going to be my follow-up question, was about Izzy Abanikanda. But okay, instead of that follow-up question, how about this one? With the kickoff rules, do you think that the injuries will be up? Because remember, they suppressed a lot of the kickoffs and things of that nature because injuries were happening and stuff like that. The NFL was trying to, a big PR move. They was trying to look good, and they said, okay, well, we're just going to do the kickoffs, a little differently, and then they were going out of the end zone and stuff like that. So do you think that with the new kickoff rules, injuries will start going back up, and we're going to have practice squad players and practice squad players for the practice squad and that kind of element to the game once we start off this 2024 season?
Two-parter here. Number one, I think by virtue there has to be more injuries because like there wasn't enough reps. We just talked about the Packers leading the NFL last season with 31 returns, so there weren't a lot of injuries because there wasn't a lot of action. That was all right. I got to go take a piss, pal. All right, I got to go grab a beer. There's a kickoff happening here. Like nothing's happening here. I'll be right back, and I'm not going to miss any game. And then you go over there. So now inevitably that's going to go up. But number two, while it should go up just by virtue of the numbers, I don't think it's going to go up high because, again, we have to see it. So I guess I'm prognosticating a little bit. But how it's been told to me of how it's going to look when you have the cover zero line, like, again, Mel Gibson lines, hold. So these two lines can't move until the ball either touches the landing zone or touches the player in the landing zone before they can even move. So they're just like going to be like in the position of staring at each other awkwardly before the two lines, like a Game of Thrones armies, can start clashing and intermingling. And because of that reduced thing, again, back in special teams, when I was playing in high school, my coach used to slap me on the ass as the gunner and said, I want you to be a heat-seeking missile and destroy the first fucking thing you see. And I said, all right, coach. Or onside kicks. He's like, you see 52? Light him up. Hit him as hard as you can and run as fast as you can and just throw your body into him. I'm like, okay, coach. And I did it. So like now with the lines as they are, I think there's less of that because you're taking away the speed. The speed is the element. It's a car crash. It's head-on-head collision is how the old school special teams used to work. And there was violent, bloody, which we enjoyed, but, as barbarians and gladiators. But like, that part of the game I think is being removed to that level to get those kind of hits. Again, there will be some, but I think it's just going to be these clashes of bodies. And then really it's gap integrity where you have a returner and you have the kicker. And that's why they're flirting with kickers being like safeties or other positions so it could be a fair one-on-one fight. Because if that returner blasts through the initial line, it's him versus kicker to the house. That's why things can get really freaky and these plays can blow up and go crazy. That's why, you may have to get creative, get someone who could just kind of halfway decent kick, like Chad Ochocinco used to be a decent enough kicker where he gets it. You're like, I'd rather have him one-on-one than Joe Blow the kicker. So that's it. So long story short, injuries should increase because there's going to be more of them naturally, but I don't think it's going to be a lot with how they've reduced the speed and violence of some of these collisions. I think that should contain it somewhat so it doesn't get too off the wall. Gunny?
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, like it's all about the momentum aspect, right? Taking away a lot of that momentum that you see these guys clash into each other before the ball even gets to the receiver has been the cause of a lot of those injuries, right? Those blindside hits from people just getting laid out, trying to go ahead and cause the block. Now, I think by controlling it more, making it more of a disciplined approach, you're going to see less injuries. But again, like Paul Boyd said last year, we weren't even seeing anything happen whatsoever. So there's going to be an increase, but less of an increase than what it was before. Right. I personally like it because it gives an advantage to special teams. And I think special teams is a strength of the New York Jets. They kind of took that away from us last year, right? To kind of like keep us in the bubble, but now it's another weapon you can add to the fold. I think we have one of the best special teams and special team coaches there is in the league right now. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see how it works out. But man, talk about some short fields because you're talking about nobody can move until the receiver touches the ball or receives the ball, and boom, momentum's already in that receiver's favor.
Right.
That's going to create some real short fields. You see the NFL gearing more so towards more points, more offense, and this is going to complement that. I think you're going to see a spike in terms of scoring this year in the NFL, which means having a good defense is going to be that much more important. But also the special teams aspect is going to be something that people aren't thinking much into it. But I thought about it. I'm like top 5 special teams last year. That's going to be an impact for us this year by being able to get one of our guys right there to go ahead and get into the second level, giving Aaron Rodgers a 40-yard field to work with by striking 60, 70. That's a plus. So I think that's something else a lot of people aren't really thinking as much about. So it's a really good question, Unc, because I have been thinking about it. It's going to shorten up a lot of fields, and I personally am excited for it.
Yeah, and we're going to have this guy on the show, okay? Mike Westhoff, figure it out. Look at all these notes.
Yeah.
I'm a freak. But we're going to have Mike Westhoff on his book, Figure It Out. You guys can check it out wherever you get your books. We'll have him on later this offseason to get his thoughts on all these kicking change.
That's amazing.
Again, he's great.
Yeah. So, when you told me the story about the gunner, Paul, that invoked visions of the movie The Replacements, that classic scene with Gene Hackman tells the guy, like, yeah, I need the ball. I need the ball. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. And say, yeah, give me the ball. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. Yeah. I can see you in that scene. You're the gunner. Give me the ball.
That's
All
it.
right, guys. Thank you for having me on. Love the show. Legendary guest and Gunny Gumby. Love his show. The Hangout. Awesome stuff, you guys. You guys have a great day. Chat, have a great day. Talk to you soon.
Appreciate you,
beautiful. Yeah, we're gonna have to do this thing with Gunny more regularly, quite frankly, which I'd be very open to because he increases my cool factor. My cool factor goes up when I am around Gunny, which is what I want to do. I want to bring him to bars. I want to bring him to
it's a collaborative, man. It's a collaborative.
Look at that humble guy. Look at the humble. Look at the modesty. All right, let's go back to the phone lines. We've got NY Jets FL here on the program. What's up, pal?
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm driving, but I'm doing an Edward Ziff, so I'm going to drive and talk if possible.
Okay.
I have a it's going to be possible no matter what. I got a Santonio Holmes story. I was actually at the Super Bowl at the 25-yard line when he did his totes out. So it's supposed to be the Jets Super Bowl. Unfortunately, I was able to go to the Cardinals and Steelers Super Bowl and
great Super Bowl.
Watch that game. Probably one of the greatest days of my life, honestly. It was, and I told my wife, I got to do this. One time I said in my life, I got to get to Super Bowl, and we looked into some tickets. We basically paid face value for them too, which was insane back then. It was $1,000 each, which was really nothing when you really think about it in the club section. And as soon as the game was over, I said, I got to go again. That's the first thing I said. I said, I have to go again at some point. But I was watching. Okay, so I sat down yesterday, happened to flip on the XFL. And I've watched it a few times, but it was actually an interesting game. It wasn't a bad game. And of course, there was another controversial catch that a not catch that was supposed to be a catch, which was ruled a non-catch. And that started to get my blood pressure up. I'm like, well, are we going to go through this shit stuff again this year where everything is it's a touchdown until you review it and the ball moves a little and it becomes a non-touchdown again. So that can they ever get that squared away at some point is my first general question before I get to a Jets question.
Yeah, I would just say that for me, I think people have lost what an instant replay is supposed to mean. It's not supposed to overanalyze every play. You should, if something happens, you should go to the replay and in 5 seconds know exactly, was it black or was it white? And if you could determine that very quickly, okay, we made a mistake, boop, fixed. Okay, if you're staring at going, hey, other zebras, come over here. Maybe, I don't know. And then we're all like at home, like, what the hell? Or drinking a beer in the stand, like, oh, what the fuck is going on down there? And they've been looking at this thing for 35 minutes. What's going on? Like, that's my thing. That's where I think we're getting lost, where people are saying, oh, no, this. It should be situational, key plays. It should be able to determine it very quickly. If there is a lot of hemming and hawing, then keep it the same. Even if it's wrong, I'm fine. If there's too much of overanalyzation and dragging up the game and pace of game and all that changing, that's where you kind of lose me. So personally, it should be quick, black and white things. Those are the reviewable. I'm glad that they removed like PI, for instance, because passing interference to Gunny is much different than passing interference to me, which is much different to NY Jets FL. When we're seeing all of these different calls, because it's subjective, and there's subjective things with roughing the passer, and this and that, a slap on the head, a grab, putting the weight down on a guy. There's so many things that I'm kind of glad are not or aren't or are no longer because they tested. I went, oh, that was a mistake. Like those are the kinds of things. So yeah, will we ever get there? Probably not, because that gives us plenty of radio content and digital content to be able to go, oh boy, they blew that call. That call was not, wow, that was a perfectly officiated game. That was spectacular. Like we don't want to be, that's never going to happen. So hopefully they just get it right more times than not.
I mean, if it was up to me, I think you give him 30 seconds to go ahead and review any play and every play. That's it. You got 30 seconds, make up your mind. Because I think when you're letting individuals, like Paul was saying, bring in all the zebras, if you've got to question it that much, then the play should be, you know what I'm saying? Nothing's changing. Leave it as is. You can't change it if you got to think about it. I think we get the benefit of the doubt as the people watching from home, because we get to see all these wonderful camera angles, and we're like, right. So we get to see a lot more things, right? These guys are making decisions in the blink of an eye, right? And these guys are going bang bang plays. These are elite athletes going at each other at 1,000 miles an hour, which is what makes the game so fun. So for me, I think whenever you start taking away momentum in some of those circumstances, that sucks, because then now defenses get reoriented, offenses lose momentum. You got 30 seconds to go ahead and review a play if it's challenged. And if you can't figure it out, the play stands. If you can, then obviously you overrule it. I don't think we should give them more than that. I agree with Paul. Whenever they're back there for too long, it takes away from the game on both sides. And if you have to really talk about it that much, then it was too close of a call to tell. Just move on. Let the game play as is. Ball don't lie.
I just seen too many of the Dean Blandinos, of the world. Just I don't need to see that guy. You know what I mean? Like, that guy should be on for like 3 seconds, and we shouldn't even know his name. Give him 30 seconds, like you said. It's just aggravating. But what I'm looking forward to this year is the type of offense that we can run based on game scenarios. Like San Francisco, potentially, most likely a low-scoring game, defensive game. You're going to start playing the Dolphins. I don't know if we can hold that team down to less than 21 points. We're going to have to score in that game. So knowing we were behind the 8 ball every game with Zach Wilson, knowing that we had to play perfectly every game with Zach Wilson, now we go in and we're like, okay, what's our philosophy? Do we, let's try to do 24 points, in this game against Miami, or over 20, we can play different scenarios, and we have the offense to do it. We have a big running back now, short yardage, maybe more agile out of the backfield. Catcher, we have a 1-8 to Garrett Wilson, and we have tight ends who were blockers last year, plus the improved offensive line. So that's about all I got to say. I don't want to take too much of your time. I'm just looking forward to the type of offense that we can come in and dictate, as opposed to react to the Zach Wilson type offense. But I appreciate your few minutes as always, Paul. And Gunny, good to talk to you.
Always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure.
NY Jets FL, and I agree. I want to not, again, the other team scores a touchdown. I'm like, boy, all right, now we're at our ceiling here. Oh boy, we can't allow much more here.
That was the worst.
What a crazy thing. Exactly. It's to think, like, to say that out loud, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But it was true. Like the Jets.
It was our story.
Oh boy, Tommy DeVito got that touchdown in the third quarter. Oh boy, we're in a pretty big hole here. I'm not sure if we'll be able to dig out. And someone's like watching the game. It's 7-0. What in God's green earth are you talking about? I'm like, boy, you have no idea what we've been going through, pal. You know what I mean? Bro. So like now, for like Aaron Rodgers to just go off, like, because this is crazy, and this has to happen this year at some point. Like I've watched Aaron Rodgers games on Sunday Night Football against the Packers Bears way back in the day, and he just throws 3 touchdowns in the first quarter, and then I see Packers fans going, another solid performance from Rodgers. I'm like, what? Solid. I'm like, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen. So like, for these to inevitably just kind of happen, I'm just gonna lose my crap about. So that's phenomenal. All right, let's go with a couple of quick callers here, then we'll wrap up the show. All right, I see we got Bill here on the program. What's up, Bill?
Hey, how's it going?
Excellent.
Hey,
good
Bill.
to have you back on the show.
Yeah. I need some clarification on something, because I keep hearing this all the time, and I kind of disagree about it. When it comes to comeback player of the year, whether it's been baseball or football, it's always been that you have to have a very bad year the year before and then have a solid year the following year to win it. Being injured and out the entire year is just simply a lost year. I don't know of any instance where a player's been out 1 year, had a MVP year, for example, the next and wins comeback player. Usually it's something like, your quarterback was 0-11 through 20 interceptions, had 3 touchdowns, and then follows it up with 30 touchdowns and 5 interceptions and a 9-2 record the following year. So I just have an issue with this thinking. If you were out the entire year before, there's no telling whether you would have had a good year or a bad year that year. Whereas if you actually played and had a bad year, now there's no question. So if you have a solid year the following year, then obviously now you're up for contention for the comeback player.
Yeah, that's a good point. Real quick, I'll just respond to that. Now, the NFL has not made it public. What is the criteria for comeback player of the year? That is not public information. For instance, Geno Smith. What did he come back from? Sucking? He had disappeared for 7 years, and then he just shows up, and they're like, all right, comeback player of the year. Like, coming back from what? So, like, there's been people that have blown out a leg. You're like, oh, boy, comeback player. And then there's been the Joe Flacco thing. He came back from the couch? What the? You know what I mean? So, like, there's no public criteria. I've asked NFL people. They said that is not public information, which is kind of weird. You'd think, like, for an award, we should kind of know what's the criteria, what's the window of dressing here that is the award is based off of, but that is not public info. But we've seen all kinds of weird ones in the NFL. Like I said, there's been Geno Smith, there's been Joe Flacco off a couch, there's been historically players like Alex Smith who have obviously the crazy, incredible comeback from the gruesome injury that he came back and was respectable. So there's been a lot of different definitions over the years, Bill.
Yeah. Okay. The only other issue, this is just simply a comment. Okay. I've always objected to the fact that the quarterbacks get paid the money that they do, and then what's left over is just simply scraps for everybody else. This thing about Reddick, whether he's a mercenary or whatever, should not even be an issue if there was a cap on what you pay your quarterbacks. I think that, again, there's no I in team. Everybody contributes to the success or failure of the franchise. So this idea that somehow your quarterback is given so much of the glory, the lion's share, in fact, that to me just seems crazy that a quarterback can get $50 million a year, and then if Reddick wanted $12 million a year, and we're like, I think that's too much money, too much compared to what are you comparing it to? I mean, you look at what he's done up until now. Doesn't he deserve consideration to receive some type of contract which includes incentives, and maybe you pay a large signing bonus to make him happy? I mean, there's got to be a way, because, like, for example, running backs are considered now a dime a dozen. I mean, running backs were definitely the core of the team just as much as the quarterback. You have that running game going, and it makes your quarterback's job easier. He doesn't have to look over his shoulder as to whether a defensive lineman is coming after him, because you have a John Riggins or Earl Campbell running over the secondary and linebackers. So that's just my observation there. And other than that, I do wish that all you guys have a great week, and thank you for giving me the time.
Of course. Thanks, Bill, for calling into the show. Yeah, I would say, again, the quarterback is the most important position in football, so they deserve that large-ass chunk that they get. And to the Haason Reddick thing, does he deserve more money? If I'm the Jets, I'm like, you didn't do any of that for me. You did that for a bunch of other teams. Like, this isn't a life achievement award. The Jet Gala. All right, let's give it up for Haason Reddick, who's been a wonderful pass rusher for all these other teams. Give it up. Yeah. And the Jets are like, what the hell? This is a what can you do for me now league. And Haason, so far, you've done zip and pip. You got 0 sacks with the Jets. Let's see what you can do. So I think that's the conversation. Again, that is not these lifetime achievement awards. Now, again, Haason Reddick, I understand if I was Haason Reddick, I want to get paid. I just had 50.5 sacks over the last 4 years. Of course, I want the bag right now. I'm 29, going to turn 30. Who knows if I blow out something in the season, do I ever get the bag ever again? I don't know. So I understand from his perspective, but it's a staring contest. The Jets are here, and he's here. If the line was closer, there'd be a deal already. So let's, again, a little TBD. We'll have to wait to see how that one plays out. All right, Gunny, we have one last call to get to here, and it is JB Money. No, not Jaylen Brown, sinking things all over the Dallas Mavericks last night to go up 2-0. I'm talking about Johnny Boy here on the program. What's up, Johnny?
What's up, Johnny?
Whoa.
Gunny, I got the little man right here.
Oh, what's up, little man?
That's great. That's great.
I'm on daddy duty, man. He's
okay.
If I blink twice, that means come save me.
Okay, that's good to know.
Hey, so mandatory OTAs, right? We're getting ready.
Yeah.
You guys are ready?
Oh yeah, of course. Excited. Yeah.
So with everything going on, I mean, I think we've touched based on the whole Haason Reddick. We've touched a little bit in regards of the special team situation and all that.
Yep.
What are the other news lines that you guys are looking forward towards? Like, what are other positions that you are wanting to see? Like, for myself, I want to see like the gelling of the new defensive line coming in with all the guys that we got. The kid from San Francisco, the Fatu. I can't even think of the guy's name right now from San Francisco. That
Javon Kinlaw.
Kinlaw, yeah, and everything in regards to that. And then, dude, Lazard, man, look. As crazy as it sounds, man, and Gunny, I mean, I think his wife is a Packers fan, right?
Yep.
She is. So, sorry to hear that. Again, I send my regards.
Thank you guys.
I mean, what do you guys think? Do we drop him? I mean, is he gonna stay? Like, do we just bite the bullet and say the hell with it? I know I've been like a freaking robot that's been saying the same old crap over and over and over, but it's just a conversation that needs to continue to be talked about. I mean, what do you guys think?
Of course, two things here. Number one, you said story I'm looking forward to. No injuries. So continue the clean bill of health. That's the number one thing I care about at this point in time, mandatory minicamp, because they're about to have this big-ass 40-day gap between doing football activities. And all these, you're opening up the floodgates, and all the inmates are running out, and they're going to go party around. And what you just got to hope for is that no one does anything crazy. Because if I have a big topic to talk about on July 1st, that's not good news. That must mean someone was Sheldon Richardson going 100 miles an hour with a loaded gun and a child in the car. I want to try to avoid those kind of storylines if I can. So health is number one. And going over to Lazard, I have had kind of the same take on it all. If he is the player that was at the end of last year, and I'm not talking about dropping passes, like obviously he shouldn't be. He's paid $44 million. He's going to be catching passes. That's his job. But the deflecting of blame, the being a Debbie Downer in the locker room, messing up the vibe, that sort of thing, being a cancer, quite frankly. If I don't know if that's happening, I'm saying if that kind of stuff is happening, that's where you just say, all right, bite the sheets. We're ripping this off here. We're ripping the Band-Aid off. Is it going to hurt us? Are we paying it? Technically, if that were to happen, the Jets would pay him more to not be on the team than to be on the team. The Buffalo Bills just did that with Stephon Diggs. You have to reach a certain level of something to be willing to do that. And my willing to do that is only if he's being some sort of locker room cancer or a detriment to the team and the team morale. At that point, I'd rip it off because we're trying to win a Super Bowl. We don't have any time or energy for any of that crap. The only second reason, which is potential, is if all these young cats are doing crazy ass stuff. We're like, wow, like we're willing to give up Lazard. Are we willing to let one of these guys, which are the tough decisions, right? That's why Thomas Morstead initially was cut and we all freaked out, but he knew he was coming back. They did a gentleman's agreement. Hey, we're going to cut you for a second to maintain and keep these young guys here. So they're playing roster gymnastics. That'd be the only other thing as well.
I mean, yeah, for me, I'm really excited to kind of get an idea of, oh, man, see, now I want my son to come out of his room so I can have
See, that's right. I got Sarai up here. Here, I'll play your little intro, Sarai, because we always do this for you. Here we go. Wow. Here we go.
Wow.
She's adorable. She's
Thank you so much.
Adorable. Man, I miss these ages, man. You guys got the little ones still, man. These are the best freaking ages. When they get to be these kids' ages, they're kind of mean.
Hmm? What do you ask? More what, honey? More Jet wins? Yes, we can all agree with that.
100%.
Yes, more.
We can get behind that.
Yeah, a few more of those. Yep, boop. Yep, that's what we're hoping to do. I'm hoping Quinton goes boop and hits down every quarterback. Yeah, boop, 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 boop. Let's get him a few more sacks this year. Yeah. Okay. Great. Gunny, what was your thoughts on old Johnny Boy?
Oh, I completely
Storyline
forgot.
you're looking forward to?
I was looking at
Lazard.
adorable babies.
I'm keeping.
Lazard. Yeah. So with Lazard, I don't think we can get rid of him. I think that like Paul was saying, man, that's just too much for us to go ahead and pay him to not be on the team. Ultimately, I think Aaron Rodgers might want his boy on here. I don't know. He did seem frustrated a little bit in terms of OCAs. You're seeing some easy drops from freaking Lazard, which is kind of getting ridiculous at this point. But at wide receiver 4, this is a guy who can still be a facet that can help us out in the run game in terms of blocking. I think you got to look at that, kind of look at his value. And at this point, if you're expecting Lazard to be wide receiver 2 or put up production like a wide receiver 2, I think we're just kidding ourselves. Either he's checked out, man, or maybe he really was never that good, and he just happened to go ahead and get lucky the last couple of years he was in Green Bay. It's starting to look more like that he's really good at playing football. I don't think he's off the team this year, but I do believe this is his last year as a Jet. I don't care what he does. I think this is his last year. You heard Coach Saleh even say as much, at the coaching owner conference. Hey, listen, he's here for one more year. He said it blatantly. He's here for one more year. I was like, well, okay, that's right to the point. So I think that was as blunt as it can get. So I think he's here for one more year, no matter what. But at wide receiver 4, I don't think he hurts us too much. Yeah, but he could get
Alan Lazard for comeback player of the year. What no,
I don't think so.
You could get some good odds on that. I think I could get some good odds.
And then the last thing I was going to ask both of you guys, right?
Yes.
And Boy Green, he hit it, right? Because to me, I've always thought it was weird that we do an OTA or we do training camp, and then it's just like, boom, 40 days off. Boom, you come back again. And I feel like that's how you get injured. I feel like that's how you would get hurt, because your body's, again, just chilled out, relaxed, whatever they're going to be doing. They come back and just put it. See, she don't even like it. And get put into and put through the strain of being in training camp. I mean, I'm pretty positive all you guys have played sports and all that. Like, I've never liked that. Like, I know a lot of these professionals are going to go ahead and stay in the gym, do their training to keep their body, ready and right and all that. But what's your guys' take on that? Like, what do you think about that?
No, I think there is something to, hot and cold nature of warming yourself up through OTAs, and there's phases, right? Phase 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's increasing intensity and things of that nature as you're going through these different phases of activity. And then all of a sudden, boop, plug gets pulled and you're gone for this 40-day gap of time. That's a part to me that's a little weird. That's why, again, they're talking about it behind the scenes of potentially changing the NFL offseason where you get rid of all this voluntary stuff. Instead, that's digital stuff, Zoom calls, stuff like that. And then there's a literal ramp up like there was for COVID. Everyone shows up end of June, and your phases are then, which in theory would make a lot more sense of phase 1, 2, 3, 4. It probably wouldn't make sense, as I have my daughter here, it wouldn't make sense for, I'm sure, the NFL families to get time with their kids, during the summertime when they're off from school and stuff like that. I'm sure from that perspective, it doesn't make any sense for them to do that. But from a football pure perspective, it makes more sense for that ramp up in digital stuff beforehand, very light stuff, and then you have that full ramp up so they're at their prime stuff. That should reduce injuries, I would think. But for now, it's that.
Yeah, it's all about being acclimated. And like you said, we've all played sports before. We all know the difference between being in sports shape, whether it's basketball, football. On average, no matter how well you work out, and this is us as young kids, right? No matter how much you work out, like you're stronger, you've got endurance, until you're like into game 4, game 5 of the season, you're not into game shape until you start getting those valuable game reps. So I think, yeah, this worries me, man. I'm not a fan of it. But again, I from Paul Boy Green's standpoint, I got kids. I understand the importance of this time frame for you to be with your kids and your family. You get it, Johnny. You got a kid. So I see it from the man and the family perspective. It makes 100% sense, right? Because you're able to spend summertime with your kids in June and going to July. But in terms of football, I think it does increase the risk of injury because now you're cooling down for the next freaking 40 days just to get back into it again in training camp. So yeah, I'm not a fan. And I do think it makes more sense to do it in a layered approach, even if you got to push it later on into the season, which technically would be starting now, vice starting last month, which again impacts their family time. But
exactly, especially if they're trying to add another game.
Another game.
You know, like it's kind of I mean, I get it. They're making money off of it. I mean, I have to say, I feel like this year's football season was super exciting. It was a lot different than it's been in years. And as much as people don't like Goodell was doing really well for the NFL. I mean, the way he's putting a product in front of other countries now, too, it's awesome. So, my bad, man.
That's okay.
He's mad happy. Hey, I appreciate you guys. Boy Green is always a pleasure. Gunny, bro, you already know, man. You're the man, dog. And hey, Jets, go Jets.
Jets.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Johnny. And Gunny, to wrap up the show, please give some plugs. We got 400 people in the room live right now. Plus, we have thousands that listen after the fact to these shows.
Oh, wow.
Give a shameless plug, baby, to where they can find all
Yeah.
your juicy Jets content.
Listen, you can find me on the New York Jet Situation Report. I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Twitter, I'm on YouTube, and I'm on Instagram. We do the Hanger Hangout on Tuesday nights. That's predominantly my show. Well, it is my show on Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Central Time, so 9 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow night we're going to be on there with Brandon Procrast. He's going to be talking about Jets OTAs and what he thinks about the mini camp competitions as well. So kind of have a little bit of an insider view on the show. But yeah, chop it up with us, man. It's the Hanger is fun. Pretty much, I Jets fans come on there. A lot of the guys, it was just us and the guys last week. No guest. It was just us. We just jumped on the show. We just talk football. It's always a good time. So Tuesday nights, you can find me in the New York Jet Situation Report. I stream live on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and of course on YouTube. So feel free to go ahead and stop by the Hanger.
All right, I love it, baby. So, guys, make sure you show your support for another brother in Jets arms, baby, and for all this wonderful content creation. Thanks again to the 400 people that watch and all the wonderful calls and everything, and to Gunny for joining us here on the show. Again, we'll have to make sure the next time we do this, there isn't 30 years between visits. We got it, and that's on me, baby. We got to make sure we set that up. All right, thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow morning live for Boy Green Daily at 7:30 in the morning. All right, everybody, take care. God bless. We'll see you.